find other great podcasts like this one at podmoth.network.
Spooky Halloween!
It's October 13th, but it's not Friday the 13th.
That would be great. Ugh.
I know. It probably only happens like once every 69 years or something.
Nice.
Got him.
Music.
In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie Fantastic Schemes Schwartz.
And I'm Katelyn Tiffany Sky Lampart. And this is the podcast where, in fact, we talk about bones and bone-related topics.
And we are in the most bony season of the year.
Yeah, still October, still feeling it. Minnie is still screaming.
Well, we love a bit of frightening ambiance for the listeners, because nothing says Halloween like the blood-curdling screams of a miniature cat.
A cat that is desperate to go into the hallway and hang out with the smells out there, which she loves.
I mean, that's life's simple pleasures, isn't it? Getting to go in the hallway and smell the smells you like.
I love it out there. It has all the smells I like.
I'm really sad because my downstairs neighbors, like the ones not on the very bottom, but in the middle level, they have moved away. That makes me sad because they were really good cooks. I never tasted anything that they made.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Everything that they cooked smelled amazing.
That's right. I remember the smells that came wafting up.
Yeah, and we'd always look at each other and go, I want to have what they're having.
Yeah. What's that? Lasagna?
Oh my goodness. I would do a Halloween murder on someone for some lasagna right now.
Oh, yeah. Like a homemade lasagna with some ricotta.
Oh, yes.
Some mozzarella.
The spookiest cheese.
Yeah, I'm just listing cheeses. Well, this has been great. If you like this Anything Bones cheese episode that I've curated for you tonight.
I like Katelyn's cheesemonger corner.
So listen, I do have some Parmesan in my refrigerator because I looked at this soup recipe that calls for an optional rind of Parmesan cheese. And obviously I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I bet that infuses some nice cheesy flavor.
I bet it does. Oh no, you have to eat the cheese to get the rind. Oh no.
Oh no. Well, you just grate up the cheese and put it on top of your soup. There you go.
Yeah, or you could just like 2 a.m. get a good toothful of that cheese right to the dome.
I'll be honest, I don't really like cheese just by itself. Like, I needed it to have a cracker or something. Like, when I was a kid, I was staunchly against eggs and cheese. It was, like, not allowed.
Oh, whoa.
My scrambled eggs had to be plain.
Oh, I never knew this about you.
Yeah, I changed, but for a while there, it was touch and go on the cheese and the eggs.
I mean, I guess this is where we differ. I've always been a little cheese fiend.
It's delicious.
Yeah, and I think everyone in my family is like a little bit lactose intolerant. I don't think you can be a little lactose intolerant, either you are or you aren't. But everyone just ignores it. They just take the tummy aches.
Yeah. Well, isn't that a thing where like you technically don't even need like milk unless you're a baby? Or am I crazy?
No, I mean, future Sophie, maybe you can put some science on this, but like, I'm pretty sure like humans, like we're not supposed to do dairy. We can like mostly tolerate it and we love to eat it because humans just love to destroy themselves with food.
Future Sophie here. I have a quote concerning dairy from harvard.edu. This is a quote from Vasani Malik, who is a nutrition research scientist with the Harvard School of Public Health. And he says, quote, "Dairy isn't necessary in the diet for optimal health, but for many people it is the easiest way to get the calcium, vitamin D, and protein they need to keep their heart, muscles, and bones healthy and functioning properly. So there you go.
Awesome.
Well, if you want to hear more of our cheese podcast, you can go to our Patreon. No.
Yeah, we'll get a Patreon for the cheese content.
Yeah, if you want more cheese content, just like direct message us on Instagram. I'm curious.
Yeah, please. Oh, sorry. My calendar just told me to cancel a free resume builder subscription. So I gotta remember to do that.
Oh, I have a very important announcement.
Oh, okay.
Followers of the podcast will remember that I subscribed myself to Popular Mechanics
Right.
in service to the podcast, and now I have canceled my subscription to Popular
Excellent.
Mechanics.
Yeah, fuck them.
Fuck
No,
'em.
I'm just kidding.
I want the unpopular mechanics, that real freaky shit.
Right. Hey, Mins. Can you stop that? Hey, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. All right. One more outburst and she's spending the hour in the bedroom. Trapped.
Oh, such a stern cat mother.
I got this new litter mat and she thinks it's like a toy. But I'm like, no, this is to catch the litter that you can't get off your stupid paws. I'm sorry. I love her. I love her so much.
You mean the litter she maniacally, intentionally, and maliciously spreads through your home?
Yeah, I know. I know she does it on purpose. I know she knows that I hate it, and she does it more. So, if we want to just get into it, I picked something truly heinous today.
Well, you know, we love the iconic ones.
We do, yeah. This is a murder that I'm sure a lot of people will know of or know certain components of. And it's difficult, so I will put a trigger warning, like this is some difficult stuff. A whole family gets murdered. So it's just really bad, but a really interesting story, and I think there's going to be a lot to talk about in here. So I'm going to be talking about the List family murders.
Ooh, that's a big one.
Definitely first heard about this on an episode of My Favorite Murder like years ago. And I'll come back to that later because there's one part of the story that really sticks out in my mind from that episode. And so my other sources, I don't really count that as a source. It's just something I heard years ago and I was like thinking of topics to do. Yeah, I just remember the music. I'll leave it at that. If you know, you know. So my sources for this were an article from Medium, an article from All That's Interesting, something from mlive.com, ABC News, and then a really cool podcast called Criminology, which I had not heard before. It's very like factual, but also I like the hosts. It was episode 125. So the patriarch of this family is John List. He's born in September 1925 in Michigan to German parents who also were Lutheran. Minnie, I don't know if you heard that, but Minnie has something to say.
Minnie does not like Lutherans. Minnie!
Lord almighty.
No, don't say that around Minnie.
Oh, okay, I guess.
She's a staunch atheist,
Yeah,
that cat.
apparently. So he was all about church and he went to Sunday school as a kid, and most of my sources said that he taught Sunday school when he grew up as well. He enrolled in the army. He got to be second lieutenant and he served in World War II and the Korean War. He went to college and got a master's degree in accountancy, which I assume is just a fancy word for accounting.
Accountancy.
I know. I wonder if that's I don't know what that is. But it sounds like a typo, honestly.
I've just never, I too have never heard it put that way.
So it was in 1951 that he met his future wife, Helen, and they would go on to have 3 children, Patricia, John Jr., and Frederick. And so John List was like all up in the accountant business, making money left and right, I guess. And eventually they moved to a like 19-room mansion. I almost said 19-room apartment. Nothing
oh my
could be,
God.
that would be crazy. No, it was a 19-room mansion in New Jersey. And the house was actually named because it was like a grand old house. And the house was named Breeze Knoll.
You know a house is fancy when it doesn't have an address, it has a name.
Exactly. There's one story from around the time that they moved in of a neighbor going over with like a pie that they had made to be like, welcome to the neighborhood. And allegedly, John opens the door, like takes the pie and is then like, we don't hang out with people, like, goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a fucking weird, sick guy.
You took the pie, didn't you, asshole?
Yeah, he took it, but he's like, I don't want to talk to you. Just give me the goods. So it's 1971 now. Their kids are teenagers. He's 46 and he loses his bank job. Gets fired, or I'm not really sure what happens. He's a weirdo, so I bet he got fired.
No more accountancy for him.
Yeah, fuck you and your accountancy. So he didn't want to tell anybody that he had lost his job, but he did that classic thing where you go to the train station all day long and sit around and read the newspaper and like sleep and hang out at the train station when your family thinks you're at your job.
Oh yeah, you know that super normal thing we've all done, you know, when you lose your job and you fake going to work every single day and you keep it from your family for months.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally pulled one of those.
So he's freaking out about money, I guess, and doesn't want his family to know that there are money troubles. So he's actually stealing money from his mother in order to pay the mortgage. Mom actually lives with the family on the 3rd floor of the mansion. And he was just so proud, maybe is not the right word, like small-minded, maybe is the word. He was so small-minded that he didn't want to get any welfare from the state. He was like too proud to do that.
Ugh.
So instead, this fucking guy concocts this horrible plan to kill his entire family instead of, you know, dealing with the financial hardship of losing his job.
Yeah, so instead of reaching out to anyone for help or accepting help from the government or even talking to his family, being honest with his family members, it is easier for him to kill them than do these things.
Oh, yeah. Just wait. When we talk about his rationale for this, he does talk a little bit about it. He did publicly, and it is...
I mean, I know that, like, other podcasts have had this take, but, like, I feel like it's a great case study in toxic masculinity.
Yeah, definitely.
Around, like, you know, this guy would rather kill his family than talk about what's really going on.
Yeah, than, like, admit that something is wrong. And he's gonna try and blame religion. He has all kinds of excuses, but really he just didn't want to tell them that he fucked up, is what it seems like to me. So it's early November 1971. Normal morning. The kids get off to school. Helen is drinking her coffee in the kitchen area. John comes up behind her and just shoots her in the head. Then he goes upstairs to the 3rd floor and kills his mother in cold blood.
Ugh, I had forgotten about the mother.
There are some accounts that say that she had something like over her mouth when she was discovered later. After he kills his wife, he brings her body into the ballroom with the Tiffany sky lamp, and he cleans up the crime scene because he doesn't want his kids to immediately see that something's wrong when they come home from school.
Oh my God.
When his daughter Patricia comes home, she is 16 years old, and she was really into theater, according to a lot of my sources. She's the first to come home, and he shoots her as she's coming in the house. Their youngest son, Frederick, is next. Unfortunately, he comes home from school and meets the same fate, a single shot to the head. John takes a pause here and makes himself a sandwich for lunch.
This guy is such a fucking monster.
Insane, I know.
He makes himself lunch.
Yep.
So just like a very casual morning of murdering your wife, your mother, your daughter, your son. And now it's sandwich time.
Yeah, I'm hungry. I need a snack. So he takes some time at this point while he's enjoying his lunch fucker, to start closing bank accounts. He's gonna write letters to the schools that his kids go to be like, oh, we're going on a trip to see my wife's family indefinitely. He like goes to the post office at some point in this day and says like, hold our mail for forever. And then this is so crazy to me. He goes to his middle child's soccer game or like sports event, cheers him on, and brings him home and kills him as well.
It's these type of people that are the most fascinating, but also the most terrifying.
Yeah, it's just so crazy. And his last murder, his son John actually put up a fight, and he ended up being shot 10 times. How do you do that to your son? Like,
that was my exact thought. You know, there's something truly broken in that type of person.
Okay, so that's the worst of it, right? But then we're going to try and cover it up.
Of course, you have
Of course. So he cleans up the crime scene. He leaves a bunch of bloody paper towels in the garbage, but cleans up a little bit other than that. And then he systematically goes around the house and cuts his face out of every photo that he can find.
Oh yeah, this is a detail that I always think is fascinating.
Yeah, so I first thought was like, this is something psychological. Like he is like separating himself from his family in some way. It was my first instinct. But then some of my sources were like, oh, he did that so that the police wouldn't have a picture of him for a wanted poster.
Yeah, I have heard both of those things, and I would love to know what his rationale on that one is. Yeah, or if it's something else entirely. I mean, a little column A, a little column B. It shows like, I mean, this is like something that like we can point to later when we talk about his reasoning, but it shows that he wanted to continue going on. Mm-hmm. If it's the one about the wanted posters, it's, you know, his intention to run.
Exactly. And that's exactly what he does. But he's got to go sleepy bye-bye first. He goes to bed in the house where all of his family members have been murdered. They're all in the ballroom except for his mother. His mother he left in her third floor apartment. Everybody else is in the ballroom. It's so creepy. I saw a crime scene photo that I really didn't like, and I'm not going to post. It was just really creepy and sad. So he wakes up and packs up, gets ready to go, and leaves all the lights on, and then turns on most likely religious hymns, blasting them through the intercom system in the whole house. And that is how the police find the mansion. A fucking month later.
That's wild to me.
So this is the detail that I remembered most from the My Favorite Murder episode, is that when the police show up, there is like organ music just fucking blaring through the entire house.
I mean, fully the creepiest thing you can imagine.
So scary.
And, you know, we were talking about this murder last night.
We were.
Because this is one I think that fascinates us both.
Mm-hmm.
The detail that I remember from a couple of different sources is that like a lot of the neighbors observed that, you know, because he left up all the lights and, you know, just by the nature of light bulbs all installed at different times, the lights just would go out in rooms kind of like, you know, in kind of a random order. And I don't know, it gives a sort of sentience to this house where these people's remains rested that really gives me the shivers.
Yeah. So that's exactly what part of what alerts neighbors to like call the police and ask for a welfare check. It's kind of unclear whether they could hear the music or not. I assume he had most of the windows like closed, but because, yeah, if he was blasting music, I feel like somebody would have filed a noise complaint like long ago.
Also, if he's had all of this forethought to like cut himself out of the pictures, to write these letters to the schools and stuff like that, he's ensuring that they will not be discovered for a long time.
Exactly.
So I'm sure he had the forethought that this is going to be a stinky situation. So I'm sure he closed the windows.
Yeah, exactly. Police enter the home on December 7th, 1971, and they, of course, find the horrific crime scene. They find his note, which is addressed to his fucking pastor, where it's like a 5-page note where he explains his reasoning. And it's to his pastor, because he's like, well, the pastor will understand. Oh, dude, fuck you.
I do not think the pastor will understand.
No. So they do find his car at the Kennedy International Airport in New York City, but they don't find him. And 3 weeks after they find his car, DB Cooper hijacks a plane and fucking jumps out of it. And so the like airport connection and the timing, some people claim that John List is DB Cooper.
I say no, because
right.
A, no, and B, he's not that cool.
No, he's not. He's not. But he was desperate for money. I will give him that.
I mean, oh yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I would love to look at that timeline and see how much that matches up.
Right. So 18 fucking long years go by and nothing happens with this case. And then in 1989, a guy named Frank Bender is hired by the FBI to make a bust of what John List most likely looks like. And they put a picture of this bust on America's Most Wanted in, when was that aired? It was on May 21st, 1989. So they also, this is such a weird, interesting detail to me. I guess psychologists thought that John List would probably wear glasses that were like ones that he wore when he was a child, because it would remind him of better times.
Whoa, I've never heard that.
I know. I was like, what? And they ended up being correct about the kind of glasses that he wore. Actually, I have a picture of him side by side with the bust. It was from All That's Interesting.
Bust? Well, this bust busted him.
Nice. There we go.
Yeah, it's, uncanny. It's this bust of him that they made. What's the name of the guy who made it again?
Frank Bender.
Talent and expertise come together in this bust because, it is exactly him. It's so similar. It's crazy. Katelyn is, exactly on the money that his glasses are almost exactly the same as
That's
the
nuts.
bust.
Yeah.
This is a side-by-side of the real him and the bust. And if I've seen this picture a couple times in my life, and if you didn't know which one was which one, he's a
It's
wrinkly
hard.
old man, so
Hard
he looks
to
like a
tell.
wax bust. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the bust is shown on America's Most Wanted in May 1989, and 22 million people watched this episode, and tips come flying into the police station. One woman in Richmond, Virginia, calls in and says that her neighbor, Robert Clark, looks a lot like the guy on America's Most Wanted. He's an accountant, and he goes to church.
Oh, shit.
He's also fucking married.
Oh, John.
Yeah. So he had run away from the horrific crime scene that he covered up. He went to Colorado for a little bit, and then that's where he met his new wife. And then he got a job and moved their asses back to Richmond, Virginia. And that's where he settled down. So he was free for 18 years after the murders. And he had a whole new life.
Yeah, this one is one that's baffling and almost sounds fake, but how they were able to catch him that many years later, and how he was able to shove all of this behind him. And can you even imagine the day that wife must have had?
Oh my God. You've moved across the country with someone, you're married to them for years, and then you find out that he murdered his entire family 18 years ago.
Did they have kids?
No.
Oh, thank goodness.
I know, right? So he is put on trial in 1990 for the murders. The defense, their strategy was that he had PTSD from being a veteran, but of course that was squashed immediately because not everybody with PTSD commits mass murder against their family, so you can't really use that as an excuse.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like a lot of veterans would have an issue with that.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, guy. The jury found him guilty immediately, and he was sentenced to 5 life sentences.
Nice.
That neighborhood is still creepy as fuck, though, because, as we have seen so many goddamn times with these scary murder houses, a fire destroyed the mansion either a few months or a few years, I can't tell, after the murders.
Always a fire destroys these places.
Not sure if it's because of a witch's cult or devil worshippers, but that's what everybody in town thinks.
Well, I mean, I would love to shake the hands of that witch's cult and those devil worshippers and say, great job.
Yeah. So I've got some quotes from John List himself, because in 2002, he had an interview with fucking Connie Chung. First off, I just want to point out that he has always denied that he is D.B. Cooper.
I'm not even going to touch that one.
Okay, yeah. We know that's not true. We know that's
not true. Him even addressing it is like the height of arrogance.
Yeah. So speaking of arrogant, this guy, he's still devoutly religious, or so he says. I don't see how you can be so hypocritical, but in his mind it works. He said to Connie Chung, quote, "I feel when we get to heaven, we won't worry about these earthly things. They'll either have forgiven me or won't realize, what happened. I'm sure that if we recognize each other, that we'll like each other's company just as we did here when times were better." How do you even think that?
You better fucking hope that they don't remember what happened to them.
Right?
You better fucking hope, or else you're gonna have you're not even gonna see them.
Yeah, he's so arrogant, he thinks that he can confess his sins and still get into heaven and see his family. And oh, by the way, he didn't kill himself along with his family because that would be a sin, and he wouldn't be able to meet them in heaven later on if he killed himself. But, he did him a solid by sending them to heaven.
So murder, fine. Suicide is a hard line. Well, I mean, this is not like something that you can tool rationality out of.
No, this is not, this is a very disturbed person. There's no other way around it, and somebody who just has no feeling at all.
Does he have mental illness?
So Dr. Stephen Simring, who is a psychiatrist that examined John after he was arrested, he told Connie Chung's people that List's sense of neatness was the result of a compulsive personality. He said that List showed no evidence of anything that approached genuine remorse, adding, "He's a cold, cold man." That's a psychiatrist.
Cold? That is chilling.
Yeah, he has a compulsive personality, and he is a cold man.
Yeah, cold doesn't seem to begin to cover it.
Right. Yeah. One of the things that is so weird to me, he said to Connie that at dinner one night, before the murders even happened, he started a conversation with his family, wanting to know what they wanted to be done with their bodies after they died, and what kind of funeral they wanted to have, if they wanted to be cremated and stuff. And he said, quote, "I thought I was being real clever."
What?
Isn't that sick? There's no... This was so premeditated, it's not even, there was nothing spur of the moment about this. He planned this from a while before it happened.
Heard that he made the rationale that, they all agreed to die. But, obviously not. If one of your children is run away from you, obviously not.
Yeah.
There's, no words for, the type of monster this guy is.
No, it's something that, I've never seen any crime like this. It's just so heartless, and it just makes no sense because, your family is supposed to be the people that you care about the most, biologically.
Yeah.
And, this is just so wrong.
Yeah, and they're fascinating because these family annihilators, because they don't they usually don't kill anyone else, just their entire family.
Well, and those guys usually kill themselves, too.
Yeah, they do.
The story ends because John List died in 2008 at the age of 82. He died in prison. I don't know. I don't know what we can learn from this one. It's just so dark and scary, but I don't know. I just felt like it was a story that I wanted to tell because it just is like, it's been gnawing at my brain for days.
Yeah, and of course, he had what he needed all along.
God?
No, the skylight.
Oh.
Remember?
Oh, yeah, like the skylight would have been worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars or something.
Yes, because it's a Tiffany original skylight stained glass, and it was in this mansion the whole fucking time. And if he had known what he had, he could have resolved his money problems. But instead, he murdered his whole family in cold blood.
That's right. Oh my God, I forgot about that. That wasn't in any of my sources
That's the
either.
thing that's always stuck out about this story to me is like this kick in the ass that like if this thing had ever been valued.
Yeah, and then I'm sure it was destroyed in the fire, so.
Yeah, something like that. Or stolen. I don't know what happened to it.
Sorry, guys. That's the List family murders.
This one always, like, never ceases to, like, affect me when I hear about it. It's one of the most heinous crimes, like, that's ever happened in our country, I feel like. Yeah. Or, like, one of the most well-covered. The fact that they caught him is so amazing.
Yeah, thank God. I'm glad that there was some justice, even though he was out and free for 18 years.
Well, I hope if his ghosts and the family's ghosts ever come across each other again, they kick the absolute shit out of him.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be happy to see that motherfucker.
No. God, his fucking, like, arrogance and, like, his, like, delusions about being forgiven for this.
Right.
Make my skin crawl.
He acknowledged that he was committing, or he was violating one of the 10 commandments, like thou shalt not kill. And he was like, yeah, I know. I knew when I was doing it that it was wrong, but
it did it anyway.
But I did it anyway because I'm above the 10 commandments. But I'm not above God, so riddle me this, bitch.
Lacks the type of reason we can understand.
Right. All right, an ad break shall be inserted here to lift your spirits, not in a holy way, but in a nice, non-religious, polite, happy way. Goodbye.
Please enjoy this secular ad.
Hey there, fellow true crime aficionados. We're the host of Bad Acts, a true crime podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Aaron.
Join us every Thursday for twisted true crime tales of dark deeds and despicable people. We focus on lesser-known, unique stories with a new case each week. We've covered family annihilators, cannibals, revenge killings, killer kids, mysterious murders, survivor stories, and much more. We've even tackled stories of people who blamed zombies, vampires, ghosts, and voodoo for their bad acts.
Of course, we know they're the only ones to blame. You can find us everywhere you get your podcast, or you can visit our website at badactspod.com.
If you like fresh stories and new perspectives on crime, Bad Acts will be your new jam. Join Bad Acts every Thursday. Stay safe, y'all.
See you soon.
Hey, boneheads. Are you cold? It's Katelyn here, and I'm here to tell you about our bone-tastic sweaters that are available on Bonfire. They are, I'm sure, super soft and super cute with our little logo on them. Get on over to Bonfire, which you can find a link in our show notes below, and get your merch on. Bye!
I hope you enjoyed that non-denominational ad. I am here to lift your spirits with something wholly different.
You always can be counted upon to lift my spirits.
Well, last week I was a real bummer, but
we're flipping the tables here on the pod. It's cool. It's hip and fresh. We're always gonna be seesawing with each other.
Well, I think that's how we keep it interesting. All right. For my lighter topic, like I was telling Katelyn earlier last night, I was looking for something entirely different when I stumbled upon London's Necropolis Railroad.
I'm so stoked for this. I want to understand so badly.
Well, let's get the sources out of the way that helped me to understand.
Yes.
So we've got Cult of the Weird, HowStuffWorks.com, National Geographic, and, of course, Wikipedia. So, the London Necropolis Railway. Let me, Katelyn, take you back to London in the early to mid 1800s.
You know I love going there.
Usually, when we're walking around London, we're enjoying the sights, the smells. Some of those that we would enjoy at this time would be the sight of overcrowded cemeteries and the smell of the corpses therein.
Uh-huh.
In London, it was traditional that there were burial sites within the city in small local churches. And as you probably know, space in London in the early to mid 1800s was becoming very scarce.
Mm-hmm.
There was a large population boom happening at this time. In the first half of the 1800s, the population of London doubled from 1 million people in 1801 to 2.5 million in 1851.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that's so many people, and everybody's dying when they're 30 to 40 years old. Fuck.
I mean, exactly. You've got it hit on the head. You know, Londoners were, of course, if they were living there, they were dying there at a rate of about 50,000 a year. So London's population is growing, but like I hinted at earlier, London itself remains the same size. And there was just a small set of, a small amount of land that was allotted for graveyards, and that was about 300 acres spread across about 200 grave sites.
Yeah, that's not gonna cut it.
No, it really isn't. And like we would see on our walk, you and I strolling in our long black skirts, we might have to dodge a couple decaying corpses, which would probably be contaminating the water supply.
No.
And of course, we definitely shouldn't drink the water because we might get cholera, smallpox, measles, and typhoid.
That is the 5 worst things to hear about when you're trying to drink some water.
One of the things that was prevalent at the time was there was still a strong belief in the miasma theory of medicine. If you remember, that is a medical, a proto-medical theory that is fully debunked, that like you can get sick from smells and like quote unquote bad air, which really isn't what we like understand today as like, they didn't really understand like, what is that called?
Airborne viruses or things like...
Yeah, transmission and, the things we understand today, they're like, if it's stinky, it will get you sick.
Sure.
This overcrowding of cemeteries is getting the attention of everyone in London because it's pretty much unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a royal commission formed in 1842 to like look into this problem and see what could be done about it. And when they came back to report to the commission, what they basically had to say was that London's burial grounds were so overcrowded that you couldn't make a new grave without cutting into an old one.
Yikes.
So we need a solution here. And, to top it all off, as if the problem was not bad enough, in 1848 to 1849, a cholera epidemic killed 14,600 people.
Ugh, that's awful.
It's terrible, and it's adding to this problem even more, and it's putting a lot of stress on the entire city of London as a whole.
Yeah. Where are we going to put these people so they're not like disrupting public health.
Yeah, and it's a double-edged sword because, you know, when you're walking by this terrible pile of corpses, you know, it's horrifying for us, but also like one of those people is somebody's grandpa.
Yeah.
So it's all over callous. And so in 1832, there was an act passed by Parliament that allowed privatized cemeteries. And so from this, we get 7 new cemeteries.
Of course. Of course.
Do you remember what they're called?
Oh my god. Oh, I covered this. Shit. The Magnificent Seven?
Hell yeah. Ding, 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 ding.
Fuck yeah.
That's 100 Halloween points for Katelyn.
Oh, yummy, yummy, yummy.
So these Magnificent Seven were cemeteries built specifically to address this problem. And although they were not as inside the city as these old school burial grounds that were usually attached to little churches, they were outside the city a little bit, and they were these widespread, beautiful parks. Please check out the episode where Katelyn covers the Magnificent Seven. As people were looking to solve this problem, enter 2 eccentric entrepreneurs.
Oh my god. I don't know what's going to happen.
We have Richard Brond and Richard Spry.
Double dicked. Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, a dyslexia, I could be staring at these articles, reading it over and over, and a bitch did not realize they were both named Richard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these guys believe that they have an answer, and that lies in a amazing industrial form of transport that is sweeping the nation. I'm talking the railroad.
The roads of the rail. Very popular.
Very popular. And what they aim to do is not just target the wealthy, but all classes of people in this railroad endeavor that they're going to do. Because at the time, how you would transport people to cemeteries was by a horse-drawn hearse carriage, and these were usually pretty expensive.
Sure, and there's not a lot of room for, like, the multitude of bodies that they probably needed to move.
Yeah, and it wouldn't allow you to get too far out of the city. So again, we're still dealing with congestion here.
This horse can't take me far enough away.
God damn it, this horse isn't helping at all.
This is a city horse.
This is a city horse that doesn't know anything. A little bit about these 2 businessmen. So according to a Dictionary of National Biography article, Braun, one of the businessmen, had a reputation for being, quote, busily engaged in the projection of a number of schemes, most of them of a somewhat fantastic nature.
Okay, yeah.
And the other Richard, Spray, he is a lawyer who spent a lot of his life in and out of debtor's prison.
Yeah. This is not the dream team.
What are you talking about? These guys are a match made in heaven.
Oh my god.
To transport people to heaven.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
So their plan was they wanted to build a graveyard way outside of the city. And how they were going to make this, populace friendly was that they were going to have a railway specifically for the mourners and the dead to this huge cemetery that they were going to build.
On the same train or on different trains?
Same train, baby.
Okay. So we've got, okay. Seems like it could work, potentially.
So to carry off this grand plan of their Death Railroad dreams, in 1852, the 2 local business friends founded the London Necropolis and National Mausoleum Company.
Okay.
Which is like the raddest name for a company.
Yeah, it's kind of badass. All right.
Right? I was like, okay. And I will now send you a picture of the crest of this railroad, which is just as kick-ass as the name might suggest.
Oh, yeah. There it is. That's awesome. Oh, and there's a snake with its own tail in its mouth. I love it.
Yeah, it's got everything. It's got skull. It's got bone. It's got hourglass. It's got ribbon. It's got snake. So this incredibly large cemetery that they were going to build was going to be known as Brookwood Cemetery. And it was supposed to be large enough to handle almost all of London's future burials for a projected 350 years.
Wow, okay. Just in that one cemetery alone?
Yes, they thought that they could accommodate about 6 million graves in a single layer.
Okay.
And I read that this cemetery was going to be 500 acres to about 1,000 acres.
Wow.
There was a little bit differing on that. So pretty big.
Yeah, that's a lot. Either way.
So when Brookwood opened, it was actually the largest cemetery in the world.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool title, guys.
6 cemeteries, bro. Brookwood was consecrated on November 7th, 1854. Like I said, it was supposed to be between 500 to 1,000 acre cemetery that was 23 miles southwest of London. And at first, things were going all right, but through some backwards business dealings and some like faulty contracts, Brawn and Spray were actually like foisted out of their own company.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it proceeded without them.
That sucks. They probably didn't have that like trademarked yet. So shit.
No, probably not. They lost that hella cool graphic. And their railroad cemetery business.
And the whole thing. Yeah, their whole biz.
Yeah. So, like the Magnificent Seven, Brookwood was a beautiful, sprawling, garden-like cemetery that was incredibly costly to build. And it actually featured American redwoods lining some of the paths, which I thought was really interesting.
That's a weird little fact.
I know. How'd you guys get there?
Yeah, what?
Guys, you're in the wrong spot. Come home. I know they're pretty, but give them back. No. So the big difference between Brookwood and the Magnificent Seven was the cost of being buried there. It was way cheaper at Brookwood.
Okay.
And it was actually way cheaper as well than being buried in the city, too. So they're beating everyone at cost.
Yeah.
To start the journey to Brookwood and to ride the Necropolis Railway, which I just love saying, we have to, of course, start with the corpses. The remains of the dead would be transported by a horse-drawn hearse. So we can't, at this point, we can't escape the horse-drawn hearse for at least. We got to keep the horses involved at some point.
Yeah. Are they getting them to the train? Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll accept it.
They're taking them to a storage vault that was underneath the special private terminal that the Necropolis Railway had at Waterloo Station.
Damn, that's fancy.
And when you're riding this railway, you can either ride first class, second, or third class. And they... This train is very cool and fun, but it is also as filled with classism as it is with corpses.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, are the bodies also, like, classified by where their station in life? Like, what's going on?
Absolutely, they were.
Oh my God.
It was funny because one article tried to phrase it like it would upset all the people for, like, the rich and the poor corpses to be next to each other. But we all know it's just the living rich people.
The rich people would get upset. It's so fucking
the dead
British.
Rich people don't give a shit. Yeah. It's
God.
very, very British. But I thought I would just, call that out here. This was an incredibly classified structure. And even if, like, one of its primary original goals was to be more accessible to the masses, it still held up the class system in England at the time.
Right.
So one of the things that was very forward moving about this railway is that they had a steam powered lift to get the coffins onto the train.
Well, that's fancy.
I know. And once the coffins and mourners were loaded up, the train trundled its way through beautiful English countryside. And that was one thing that was emphasized in each article, was that the train ride to this cemetery was gorgeous.
Yeah, was probably a nice view and nice time to reflect when you're going through something really, really difficult. I don't know. It sounds okay.
Yeah.
Except for the classism.
The classism. A fact that I particularly enjoy about the Necropolis Railroad was that before they added a turnaround loop in 1864, there was no way to turn the train around, because basically what this was is from the station of Waterloo to the cemetery, it was just a straight shot. This was the only train that took this route. And so the train, right, it goes to the cemetery, right? The train cannot go in reverse. The train does not have reverse.
Right.
So here they come, clippity cloppity, the horses are fucking back, and they're gonna pull the train backwards back to the station.
Oh my god. All 23 miles?
Yeah.
Oh god. Give these horses a fucking break.
Give the horses a fucking break. So there were 2 stations at this cemetery. You had one station for the Anglicans.
Okay.
And the other station was for the, quote, nonconformists.
What? It's even more weird now. Now it's by religion?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That was the other thing, is that, everyone was separated meticulously by class and religion.
God. It's like we just want to bury our dead in peace.
No. Everyone who believes in the Church of England gets off at this stop, and then every other religion at that stop.
Oh, I see. For some reason, I had it in my head like the stations were right next to each other, and that doesn't make any sense.
No, they're a little ways apart.
I see. So it's where they're going to be buried in the cemetery, with where their person's going to be buried in the cemetery is where they get off. If it's,
I would presume, yes.
Yeah.
Because back at the station there are these refreshment rooms, so they would have the funeral either at the station or at the church or whatever back in London. Take this train ride, and there was actually a little restaurant and pub at the station on the cemetery side, and the pub was so beloved by locals that locals would come and have a drink at the pub even if they weren't burying anyone.
Yeah, just hey, I like this place.
Yeah, and it was said that all the food that was served at the pub and at the restaurant was homemade by the staff or the staff's family.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, which is very nice. See, there's ups and downs with the Necropolis Railroad.
There's always a silver lining.
Mm-hmm. So during its peak, the London Necropolis Railroad was transportation for more than 2,000 bodies a year.
Wow.
And of course, with that, you take at least 1 to 5 mourners for each body.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hell of a lot of people that were utilizing this train.
Yeah, and then there's locals come in for beer,
Yeah, it really becomes part of the community for a time. And they buried about 64,000 people there in the first 20 years of the cemetery's operation. But despite these numbers and the place that it garnered in the community, it was never really as successful as the founders had wanted it and envisioned it to be. There are not 6 million people buried there.
Sure.
In early speculation for this cemetery, Braun and Spry thought that they would be taking 50,000 bodies a year. But of course, like I said, it was really closer to 2,000 to 3,000 a year.
Yeah. That's, still a good amount.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like a good business. Cool pub, cool cemetery.
Definitely. And after 100 years of operation, the cemetery had interred 216,390 people.
I'm wondering, is it still in operation today?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So during the early 1900s, the London Necropolis Railroad started to see something of a sharp decline as the world started to change around them. So in the second half of the 1800s, Parliament started passing laws that required the cemeteries inside of London to become a lot cleaner, and they were able to start interring people there again once they kind of got their shit together. Also in the 1900s, cremation started to grow in popularity.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
Yeah. And do you know what another hindrance to the Necropolis Railroad was in the 1920s?
Cars?
Bing, 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 bing,
Yes!
bing. We have the motorized hearse.
Yes.
No more of these fucking horses.
Yeah, no more horses, but also no more railroad full of dead people.
Eventually, by the 1930s, the train was running only about once a day, maybe. And if you wanted to set up a funeral service and you were the only one, you had to wait till the next day to see if they could get multiple funeral services.
Shit.
I know. And of course, the final death knoll of the London Necropolis Railroad happened on the night of April 16th, 1941, when it was bombed in a German air raid.
Shoot! So it got destroyed.
Yep. Waterloo Station was bombed, and so the special terminal was destroyed, and that kind of killed the company indefinitely.
Sure.
And it destroyed a large amount of the railroad tracks as well. So it couldn't even be operational.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they had a lot of more important things to worry about, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, like Brookwood itself, the cemetery, parts of it were sold off to kind of try to keep the company afloat, but that was kind of to no avail. Although the pub stayed open for many years.
Hell yeah.
This is a fun little fact from when the railroad was running. I just was reminded of it. The people who ran the railroad would get really annoyed because golfers would sneak onto the like coffin cars, the like ones that like held the coffins and stuff, to ride out to a nearby golf course to there for like really cheap.
God damn it. You lazy bums.
So the cemetery and the railway station lay in disrepair until the 1970s, when the cemetery was able to start interring people again.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And now they still conduct burials.
Hell yeah. It survived, kind of.
Yeah. And there's a small section of track near the cemetery that has a small plaque kind of explaining some of this history. And you can still see a little bit of the entrance of the special terminal to the London Necropolis Railroad. But in 2021, they announced that the building that was, because they kind of built up around this kind of ruin of this building, and they announced in 2021 that they would become apartments.
Huh.
And so to those people who will live in those apartments one day, I say to you, have fun with all the ghosts.
Yeah. Choo-choo, motherfucker.
Choo-choo.
That was awesome.
Thank you. That was the train for the dead and the living.
Yeah. We need more train stuff.
More train stuff. I'm with you.
Yeah. Love a train.
Love a train. God, do I love a train.
Nice train ride in the English countryside to a pub that's next to a cemetery. Sounds awesome.
I know, right? I really wish that whole setup still existed.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be, if I was a Londoner, that's how I would spend my Sundays. I'd be like, let's get on the death train. Let's hide behind the golfers.
Yeah. We're not there to golf. We're there to be macabre.
We're there to drink and be spooky.
Yes, and vibe.
Well, I am definitely feeling the spooky vibe after this episode.
Yes, we thrilled and chilled you. Speaking of chilled, if you want a crew neck anything bones sweatshirt, they are available at our Bonfire store. There is a a little coupon. So if you use the word bonehead as a promo code, you get 15% off.
Ooh, these sweaters are going to be wonderfully soft and have the entrancing artwork of Camilla Franklin displayed upon them.
Yes, so check that out so you can look cool this fall.
And be cozy.
Yes, and appreciate your bones. Ugh. Hang in there, guys. Got subpoenaed today.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Did you see that?
I didn't.
Yeah. They announced it. Like, hey, you need to come in. Which is so fucking good. I like turned to my coworker when I saw that headline and was like, oh my God.
Damn, all I want is to see him in one of those orange jumpsuits. That's all I want.
That's all I want. Yeah.
That's all I want for Christmas this year.
Yeah. We shouldn't even disgrace our podcast with his name.
I'll bleep it.
There we go.
Carve yourself a ding-dang pumpkin, and as always, bon voyage. Love you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Oh, I got a LaCroix bubble in my guttle.
Get it.
Get it
Get it out. Get it out.
Oh, it's a demon inside me.